Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second half of our doubleheader. We have Professor and the People with Steve Reichel and I leading off. Yes, pun intended, because we're talking baseball. Why not use leading off? But with that said, we have the second half of our doubleheader. Let me introduce the crew and watch out for the Toronto Blue Jays, people, because Katie, Emily, and I had a chance to see them on Saturday. We have a special treat about the Blue Jays tonight, so stay with us. All right, Rob Roscoe had a great time on Friday night, didn't we? Why don't you summarize what we were talking about that night on MLB Talk?
Yeah, we had a great Scott. You really did a great job. Our other guests had some problems, technical difficulties, couldn't make it, and you stole the show. We talked everything MLB, and it was just great. We had a great time, and our listeners loved it. They're still sending me messages. I got a couple today. They can't wait until Friday night.
It works well for us, doesn't it, Skip?
Yes, it does.
We'll get on Friday night on New York MLB Talk. Rob and Chris are going to allow Skip and I to go ahead and promote our show, Talking Baseball. So for those of you that want to join us, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be there. We have Rob, Chris, myself, and my manager. There we go. And Jennifer Cobb, one of my favorite people out there. Oh, she's coming in on LinkedIn. I'll tell you, she's one of my favorite people out there. I miss you, Jen. Can't wait to go ahead and bring you on the show at some point. Hope everything is going well. So Jennifer actually has ties. She used to be a former St. Louis Rams cheerleader. We actually ended up meeting on social media, brought her on a few shows. Thanks, Jen, for being on. You are great, Jen. I really miss you big time. Hopefully we'll get you on some point. There we go. So with that said, Andy, you I guess that you got out of Friday night was yours truly. Didn't get any sleep that night.
It's true, but that's not anything new.
Huh?
That's not anything new either.
Yeah, I miss you, Jen. I really do miss you. She's checking in, by the way, with us on LinkedIn. Great stuff, John. And George Eichhorn.
Hello.
That show was way past your time on a Friday night, but boy, we
I got to go back and view that one, man. I heard some good things about that. Anytime Motor City is out there talking about Detroit, I'm all for them.
And Eric, a lot of these days we're going to get you on there, but nevertheless, we're glad to have you on tonight. At least you get the manager once a week, no matter what. So until you ultimately come on that Saturday show with us.
Don't worry, Scott. As soon as this summer concludes, you got me all in.
That sounds good. So Michael Kinsey, how you doing, Scott? Michael, thanks for chiming in tonight, my friend. Hope all is well with you as well. Never know, we're still looking for quality basketball people out there. So if anybody wants to apply for a basketball position, let us know and we'll bring you on. And of course, my manager, Mickey Calloway, I love this guy. I'm telling you, he's one of my biggest acquisitions here. And my manager knows that we got a lot of things we're working on, right, Skip?
Yes, we do. We're very excited about it. And this is going to be a big week for us. So hopefully everybody can tune in.
Yeah, we're going to have Jim Riggleman, former Cubs manager, on. And Skip is working on some more guests, right, Skip?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, well, without further delay.
We have a really good lineup coming up.
Well, I have no doubt. As far as you're concerned, we're going to come up with them between my resources and yours. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to put together a lot of good people, and I'm excited about what I'm going to be doing as well. All right, well, you know what? We talked about the Toronto Blue Jays tonight, and I want to spend a special thanks to the communications PR people who did an awesome job. Michael Kinsey shows volunteering to come on the NBA. We'll have to talk and see how things are going. I don't know. I'm looking for quality NBA. Applications are out there. So that your spot would be on a Wednesday night, pal. So we expect everybody when they come on an NBA show to start and finish and learn a little bit more about it. We'll proceed from there. Spread the word, Michael. And I would advise you to appear in the chat room as often as I can so I don't forget about you. The more I see you, the better off I am. Thanks, Michael, for being on tonight, nonetheless. All right, well, let's get back to what happened over the weekend. Again, special thanks to the Toronto Blue Jays PR people. Not only were they great last year when Candy and I went up to the Sky Dome, Rogers Center, whatever the heck you want to call this place, and they allowed me to connect with Donnie. But this time, they really did a heck of a job when they contacted Candy. Tell them how all this came down, and we'll go from there, because I know you were the one doing a lot of the emails.
So basically, we contacted them and wanted to interview Don Mattingly, and he is not someone that just gives just anybody interview. He has some special few, but Scott was on that special few list. So we contacted the media department. They arranged for us to meet him down on the field before the game next to the dugout.
And lo and behold, we got it worked out one-on-one. Don and I go back a long ways. We're going to give you a piece of the Toronto pie tonight, and then we encourage everybody else to go out there and watch it. It's a heck of a time. We were scheduled between 8 and 10 minutes. Don said, I can only give you 9 tonight. There you go. What do you think happens? I got it 9 minutes on the button because I prepared that hard for it. What are the odds of having an episode right on 9 minutes on the button? When we planned it all, it was an unbelievable show. And as time goes on, we'll put certain episodes, but tonight, this one's very pertinent. Let's talk about the Toronto Blue Jays, though, and then we'll get to the Don Mattingly stuff. Just so you know, Bo Bichette did break a Blue Jays franchise record with 9 hits and 9 straight at-bats. That, to me, is unbelievable. Rob, what are your thoughts about 9 for 9?
9 for 9 is amazing. I mean, what else am I going to say about it? That's just an amazing feat. How many times has that been done in Major League Baseball history?
Good point. All right, Candy.
You know, you see batting averages around 250, 300. You're saying they're doing good, 350, but 9 for 9? Come on, that's unheard of. That's awesome. Good job. Kudos to
George.
him.
Yeah, well, a few weeks back, maybe a month or so ago, we talked about Cesar Gutierrez. He was 7 for 7 extra innings for the Tigers, but boy, oh boy, this guy has got him beat. Bichette, great bat, great ball player. He's been a great ball player for years.
Eric.
I mean, 9 for 9. That's hard to do. I mean, in order to keep that focused and be able to stay in the box that long and still see the baseball like a beach ball. That's pretty impressive. He's always been a good hitter. I mean, it's nice to see that he's kind of back to doing what he does best after an off year last year. And given that it's going to be a free agent year, he could probably use that in negotiations.
All right, Skip, you have the last word on this.
Yeah. I mean, when you get in that zone, right, and you're just playing the game carefree and everything's just clicking, those type of things tend to happen. They're very, very rare, but to be able to go 9 for 9, that is insane, like everybody said. I love when those players are in that zone. The odd thing to me is how the opposing pitchers just kept on letting them go, just let him get hit after hit after hit. If I was the pitching coach on the opposing team, I would have probably said, hey, let's pitch around this guy a little bit and make him chase, because, you know, those guys that are so locked in like that, you can throw any pitch you want and they're going to barrel it up, you know, and if they don't hit it at somebody, 9 for 9 can happen. Super rare, but, you know, those players that are able to do something like that, there's that internal confidence and that free swinging, just your mind allows your body to do what it wants when you're in that zone, you know, what we might say as a player. So what a special feat for him. And obviously it's something that's going to really get him going for the rest of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't just go off for the rest of the year, including the playoffs, because of that 9 for 9 stint.
Yeah, I knew when I threw this out there, Eichhorn took the bait, and I knew he was going to put Cesar Gutierrez on there. I just know. We had to get that Detroit reference earlier, but don't feel bad, Eichhorn. There may be one or two that you can pounce on as well.
Okay.
Bear in mind, we don't have my town on this show, but he makes it sure that he gets his version of it every single show. All right, well, let's talk about the Jays. They won 74 games in 2024. They're currently at 76 and in first place in the American Leagues. They had 156 home runs in 2024 and 150 home runs through 127 games in 2025. Skip, I'm telling you, this is a much different team than they saw last year. By the way, Mattingly is the bench coach. So with that said, I'm going to start off with my manager. What are your thoughts about the turnaround going on in Toronto?
Yeah, Scott, I think the first show that we all did together, that I was a part of at least, we talked a little bit about Toronto and that they were kind of turning things around there. And
Right.
I remember talking about the front office and how they just stay the course, right? I guarantee you, Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro are doing everything they can to support the players and give them all the resources possible to succeed. And they've been patient, right? They could have easily fired, people in the last 2 years or whatever, especially after last year, and cleaned house. And they didn't. They stayed the course, and it's paying off for them. And I think I would love to see more baseball teams do this, because you have to build a culture, and then you have to have a steady leadership that's going to go out there and know what's going on with the players. And now it's paying dividends for them, and hopefully they win a World Series. I'd love to see that.
All right, Eric.
Well, part of that too is, a big reason for their success, despite, because they've had a lot of injuries this year too. I mean, people forget about that, but part of it is Addison Barger. Addison Barger has developed into a nice player for them, and he's been a big reason for their success. Obviously, you can't count out Bo and Vlad and all that. I'm not counting them out, because obviously they're both a big part of the Toronto Blue Jays. But Addison Barger has really developed into a nice player for them, and more importantly, they're playing team baseball. There is not one guy carrying that offense. They're getting contributions up and down the lineup, and that's ultimately what it takes to win. Not just relying on just one guy to just consistently pound the baseball, but the fact that they're getting contributions up and down the lineup is big for him. I know John Schneider, terrific manager. He's proven that he can win, and I think it's great to see that Toronto opted to play the long game and just stay the course with what's going on, and just attribute it to just one bad year. And but the fact that they're turning around this year, you got to give Schneider credit, though. I really do believe that if Toronto can hold on and they ultimately go to the postseason and perhaps win the AL East, you got to give Schneider the Manager of the Year award, because that division is not easy to navigate. That's a hard division, especially with teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, and also when Baltimore's relevant, when their young players are healthy and hitting, that's another difficult team. So you got to give Schneider credit there.
Okay, go ahead, George.
Well, Shane Bieber is back. That was one of the highlights of the weekend series against the Marlins. It's been a long time coming, 16-month absence. So you just add these storylines on top of storylines. You guys already talked about the hitters and all that. George Springer, I love George, great hitter. But getting Bieber back and getting him into that pitching rotation, he did a great job. He struck out 9 over 6 innings in his return the other night. And absolutely, I mean, that is a killer division. It has been for years. Don't forget about all the great Tampa teams as well. It's a killer. And I tell you what, the Blue Jays have stayed the course for a number of years and haven't made the playoffs. But this sounds like a really special year for the Blue Jays and their fans, Scott.
Yeah, George Springer. Whoa, he's a heck of a player. They have a lot of good players on there. I saw this guy. He's unbelievable. For sure. Glad you brought him up. Okay, we'll go ahead over to Rob, and I'll turn over to Candy.
I think the key was when they signed Vlad to that extension. I think everything just fell into place. I think that was a big deal. I think once that happened, I think everything just turned around, and I think that's the biggest reason.
Okay, let's go to the chat room. TBK, got to agree with Chris. With the Yankees favored every year to win the AL East after a year, no one can honestly say they saw Toronto coming. That's a great comment by TBK. It really has dark horse potential for sure. I love comments like this, TBK. Thank you very much. That was just, call them a dark horse. All you have to do is get in the tournament. That's all that matters. He goes, Toronto looks like they might be favored in a wide open AL during the postseason. This guy's on a roll. I like TBK. Here on Rob's recommendation, gave you all a sub and like on the stream. Going to hang out and watch the show. Much appreciated. TBK, you hang out with us. Never know. Maybe one of these days we're going to bring you on to hang out with us. Great stuff. We appreciate your participation. You're doing a great thing. And by the way, before I turn over to Candy, great minds think alike. I think the Vladimir Guerrero signing definitely stabilized baseball in Toronto, which is what they need. So Rob, GMTA, great minds think alike. That's all I'm going to say about the topic. But Candy's going to finish it off.
Yeah, Toronto's playing really good ball. Let's face it. They're 5 games up on the Yankees. They're 5.5 on. Let me just see. I had it up on the Red. They're 5. I'm sorry. They're 5 games up on the Red Sox. 5.5 up on the Yankees. 12.5 on the Rays and 15.5 on the Orioles. That division is tough. I mean, that typically you don't always see the Blue Jays up there. You always see the Yankees, but they're playing good ball. They're hitting their stride at the right time. They're just having fun, and you can tell that they're having fun, and that makes a difference. Yes. It was good to see them. It was good to see. I haven't seen them in a while because, let's face it, when growing up, the Brewers used to be in the same division with them because they used to be in the American League. So I used to see them a lot more. And now that we're down here in Miami in National League, we don't see them quite as much. But it's good. Good.
Well, we got
Scott,
a bonus.
you wanted.
What's that?
Scott, picture?
Yeah, why don't you put that picture up first? Then we're going to go to, there you go. Now you have Don Mattingly and I. How about that? Not too bad. You have the one with Max in the background now?
For Max Scherzer?
That is.
Oh, is it?
Max
Oh,
in
yeah,
the background.
it is. Okay.
He's like to the left.
Yeah, he's in the background. Okay, that's where my eyes are.
Oh, yeah. That's
So there you have it. Donnie and I with the microphone in front of one of my favorite people there. Unbelievable stuff. But that said, we'll continue the narrative with Don, and he's going to talk about what he thinks he has in Toronto. Go ahead, Candy.
Okay, let me get there. Get it. Screen. And we're going to go to right here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Motor City Man Mouth Show here in Miami. I'm here with baseball lifer Don Mattingly. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here, back in Miami, and to see you. So glad to be on.
Well, glad to have you. Sorry, we'll go out there and talk about things in Toronto real quick. You have a pretty good ball club.
We do. We kind of started off the year kind of floating around 500, and then seemed to catch fire. We swept the Yankees in Toronto, and from there we've kind of taken off.
How far do you think this ball club can go?
Well, we believe we can go all the way. We have a good combination of pitching. Our bullpen's been pretty good. We're scoring runs. We play pretty good defense, and that's a pretty good recipe for having a chance to beat just about anybody.
There you go. That's what he thinks. I'll tell you, Don Mattingly hasn't had a lot of success in the postseason, but I'm going to tell you, he's got a chance at something pretty good over here. So, all right, Rob, some real quick thoughts on what you heard from Mr. Mattingly.
I love the interview. I watched the whole thing. It was great. Anytime, listen, I love listening, even though I'm a big Mets guy, I love listening to Donnie baseball. But one thing I have to say, Chris, that kills Chris seeing Mattingly in a Toronto Blue Jay uniform.
Yeah, there you go. That's what he wrote.
See?
Yeah.
See?
Now, well, Candy, you heard it firsthand, so some recollections of what you saw with my man.
It's always good to see you, Scott, in your element, because when you're one-on-one interviewing somebody, you're in the moment. You think on the fly. It's just really cool. And to see, when I talked to the PR guy about the interview afterwards, the PR guy goes, Don must really be friends with Scott, because there aren't very many times that he grants interviews. And so he's like, I was so happy that he did it, that he granted it to you. I know when I told the PR guy, I said, well, if you knew the background, Scott goes way back to the Fort Lauderdale Yankees with Donnie, way back. And he's like, wow. He goes, I guess I didn't realize how far back that relationship went. And that's the one thing I'm going to say is I've seen more so in baseball than any of the other sports, is that your relationships go long and deep, and that they really hold true to form. So It was great to see. And if anybody hasn't seen the whole interview, I mean, it's only 9 minutes long. Go check it out.
George?
Good job. Good job, Motor City Madmouth. I'm proud of you. And I know, like Candy said, you've got a great relationship with Don going back all the way to your Fort Lauderdale days.
Keep in mind, he also played for the Greensboro Hornets. And as you look at that interview, well, everybody will tell you about George Steinbrenner trading away his young players. I won't give that one away, but that's between the Fort Lauderdale Yankees and the Greensboro Hornets. That's unbelievable. So, yeah, thanks, George.
That's great. That's great. Good stuff. Glad to have.
All right, Cassie?
You're muted, Cats.
Oh, I'm back. Yep, you can't go wrong with an interview with the Hitman. I mean, you know, obviously it's one of the best there is. But the fact that no, but to be truthful, Scott, it didn't surprise me you could get that interview because remember, you're the same person who managed to get Sammy Sosa to remember you from the days when you covered him in the minor leagues and made the PR and told the PR lady to get out of the way because he came over to you, and so you know that part didn't surprise me. But you know, Don's all class, great player. Obviously, he's doing great things in Toronto right now, and hopefully continues for him. I know it's killing me as a Yankee fan seeing the Blue Jays doing well, but happy for Don. Happy to see that he's happy because I know toward the end there in Miami he kind of had a rough go of it, but nice to see that he's kind of in a good situation now.
So what do you think, Skip? You're learning about me. I think my manager is starting to see, hey, my tag team partner's got a lot of his bag of tricks. Does this convince you more, Skip? I got a lot more coming. You're just looking forward to hanging out and see what we got lined up.
You were a lot easier on him than you were on me there, Scott.
Yeah, that was at the beginning.
But it is Donnie baseball, and he deserves all the respect in the world. He's one of the greatest guys around. He talks to everybody. He's always even keel, no matter how things are going. And right. I think that probably is a huge, huge presence for Schneider and the coaching staff there with the players, right? He carries so much clout, and just the way he handles himself is amazing. And the players all love him. I think that the most interesting thing about what everybody said is baseball is such a unique sport. Like, you got to meet him when he was doing minor league stuff, and that is so unique to baseball. I've met so many members of the press and guys that are calling games and umpires and other players and other coaches during my minor league career that end up coaching with them or playing with them in the big leagues, and you have these special relationships, and that's what's so unique about baseball and so cool about baseball.
See, Skip, you know what? Here's the thing. Just so people want to know, on your first show, the Motor City Man Mouse show, you did a heck of a job. I told you it wasn't going to be an easy show at the beginning, but the one thing I liked about you, Skip, is you knew it going in. We're going to make sure that you have an opportunity to talk about certain things in the past, and you were outstanding. How much more difficult has it gotten since? No. You there? It hasn't been too bad, right, Skip? I mean, you only have your own show, and you're on here every Monday night, and they're getting easier, aren't they, Skip?
I think he's having some technical difficulties right now.
You there, Skip?
Okay. There we go. Somebody was calling me again. I don't know how to get rid of
one of those deals. Okay. Yeah. So, Skip, I have to ask you, has it gotten easier since that first show? All you did was get your own cotton picking show, and you come here Monday night, talk about anything you want.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I'm really enjoying it, and I appreciate this opportunity. It's great to sit on here with you guys and just be able to talk baseball. What else are you going to do on a Monday night?
Oh, you pass with flying colors. What are you talking about? I'm proud of my manager. And we got a lot of stuff that we're, Don Mattingly and I go back. But I'll tell you, it's not the only one. I got Brian Butterfield, Kevin Rand as our part of
Brian Butterfield
as well. And Rex Hudler. I mean, those are people I got to know as well. And that's all part of my relationship going back to minor league baseball. Minor league baseball is good for me. That's how a lot of these relationships, these people don't forget you. You may not see them for a few years, but boy, once they say, hey, how you doing? It's like yesterday is really what it is. You think about it.
It's the best. We'll have to get Butter. We'll have to get Butter on Saturdays. I coached with him in Anaheim. He is the greatest.
Do you have his phone number?
He would love to come on, I bet.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'd love
yeah,
to
I'll
have
call
him
him.
on.
I'll call him. We'll line it up.
I remember.
Yeah,
I
put it
remember
on
Butter.
that
He coached with Buck Showalter with the Yankees.
Brian on. All right, Skip, you have a little homework to get Brian Butterfield on. Let me go over a little bit of other stuff about Don Mattingly. We have other things I want to get to as well. Well, we'll give you a few FYIs on Don Mattingly. Okay. He hits his fourth grand slam of the season, tying Lou Gehrig for the most by a Yankee. This goes back to July 16th, 1987. And that was one shy of the MLB mark in a single season. On July 17th, Don Mattingly homers in his seventh consecutive game, first AL player to do it. So this guy comes with some cachet when it comes to hitting home runs. We all know that his lifetime batting average is 307. Pretty good career, and I encourage you to watch this. So, but when you think about it, fourth grand slam in 1 year, and then the guy homers in his seventh consecutive game. Those are tough things to do, Skip. They really are, Mickey. Well, okay, yep. We'll come back to him. All right, we'll go back to you. We'll go to you, Eric.
I mean, I know about the home run streak that he had. It was like obscene at the time because he literally had just come off the injured list at that point. That was when like the back issues like started. Now they didn't quite flare up like what they eventually became, but it happened. But they were starting to happen. Next thing you know, he comes off the IL, hits homers in back-to-back games. The next thing you know, boom, he's just hitting the balls left and right. Not just at the short porch at Yankee Stadium, but he's going Apo Taco with him as well. And the great thing about it was the year he hit all those grand slams. He never hit a grand slam again for the rest of his career. So baseball's kind of weird like that.
All right, we'll go back to my manager. Let me go over everything with you real quick, and we'll call the in addition part of the show. So here we go. So on July 16th of '87, Mattingly hits his fourth grand slam of the season, tying Lou Gehrig for most by a Yankee, one shy of the MLB mark in a single season. And if that isn't good enough, Mattingly homers in his seventh consecutive game, first AL player to do it. That's not bad stuff, is it, Skip?
That's amazing. We talked about it earlier. When those guys get in those zones, they can just ride that zone and that streak out for a week or so and swing the bat really well. So I'm sure he was feeling the flow and enjoying playing those 7 games. When he was always a threat. Let's face it. I mean, you just didn't want to be a pitcher on the mound when Donnie Baseball was hitting. But, when you start feeling that way at the plate, it's just, something clicks and you just do it unconsciously. You're not even thinking. You just go out there and play the game. You're nice and loose. And what amazing numbers you just read off. That's.
Thanks, Skip. Okay, George.
Yeah, he has some great accomplishments, the home run targets that you had mentioned, Scott, and, 6 grand slams in one season. That's phenomenal. I mean, he had some very, very great seasons as a Yankee, as a batter, and obviously, is still being considered for the Hall of Fame by the era committee. But boy, oh boy, yeah, I did not realize that he had that 6-in-1 season. So appreciate you bringing that up, the slams. And then, of course, the streak about hitting in, 8 consecutive, the Yankee games, a home run, just phenomenal. That's great stuff, man.
Candy?
As I listened to all the different stats you put up, and I listened to him talk in his interview about his playing days, and we talk about, does he belong in the Hall or not? And the one thing that keeps ringing through in my head was him saying how his career was cut short by his back injury. And I just wonder if he hadn't had the injuries in his back and everything like that, how much more would he have done? And then would there be no doubt we would have put him in, And so,
well, we'll save that, Candy, for those individuals that want to go ahead and watch it. But yeah, you're right. He's a very humble individual about what could have been. Hopefully, the Veterans Committee will do it. But I'm with you all the way, and you were there to watch it. So if anybody definitely can appreciate that, then so be it. I appreciate where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that, he had some impressive numbers, and I can only imagine how many more impressive numbers he could have had in his career. Yes, Mr. Eric.
I'll tell you what, though, like his last season in '95, when just before he was about to say the end, he carried the Yankees for the last 2 months of the season and just had a spectacular postseason. Especially, it was his final year, and he finally got in. And and the fact that he carried the Yankees that far, that's Hall of those couple months alone were Hall of Fame worthy, because he carries the Yankees to the postseason. And then he's practically unstoppable in the postseason. He came within a Edgar Martinez RBI double away for potentially going to the ALCS that year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rob?
Yeah, well, I remember those games, and he was in the zone when you watched him at bat during that period. I mean, any period, let's face it, it's Don Mattingly, but that period, he just could not miss, and he was just amazing. And like Candy said, and everyone else, those back injuries, if he didn't have those back injuries, he definitely would be in the Hall of Fame. I have no doubt about that.
Okay.
All
right. Go ahead, Eric.
He was also we talk about his bat. I mean, at one point he was more than likely to hit a double than strike out. But we forget, though, the guy's a 9-time Gold Glover. The guy could do it in the field as well. As much as we rave about his bat, this guy was like the best defensive first baseman in the league probably throughout the 1980s. I'd probably say him and Keith Hernandez were the premier defenders at that position. I mean, you couldn't go wrong with picking either of them. But, people forget Mattingly won 9 Gold Gloves, which that's hard to do at that position.
Heck yeah, it is. Wow.
Yeah, listen, New York at that time had 2 Gold Glove first basemen for all those years. How could you beat that? And that was fun. It was fun because Met fans would go against Yankee fans. Who was the better first baseman, Mattingly or Hernandez? And it was great. A lot of great discussions.
Okay, just a few FYIs to throw at everybody. Number one, at the game that we're at, Dalton Varsho had a home run on Saturday night, and the Jays 5-2 win over the Miami Marlins. Another FYI out there, the record since July 4th, Colorado Rockies, who were actually a team that could have been going after Chicago's utility record, gone 17-23 since July 4th. The LA Dodgers are 16-23 as well. So I just thought I'd get those pieces of information, and we'll continue to move on. This would be up George Eichhorn's alley. On August 22nd, 1978, Ron LaFleur blades his way into the record books with his 27th consecutive stolen base, a 7-3 win over the Minnesota Twins. Seems like yesterday, doesn't it, George? About LaFleur?
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Ronnie LaFleur, despite his problems off the field, was a hell of a runner, obviously base runner, center field, any outfield position, they stuck him in. His career obviously wasn't as long as he would have liked, but that's an amazing streak. He did bring to Detroit that dimension that they had lacked for such a long time. They really did. And they're not known for their base stealing, these Tigers, even this year's are not. But I'm just saying that LaFleur was a great man, 1 in a million. They had that movie they made, a made-for-TV movie on his career, and obviously he had a tough upbringing with the record that he had and off the field. But yeah, that's a great feat. That's a wonderful feat, and we'll never forget that. Ronnie LaFleur will never be forgotten by Tiger fans. No.
Well, Eric, you're going to go next anyway, so don't worry about putting your hand up. Now you can just go ahead and talk about it.
I was going to say, though, Billy Martin was the one who got him a work release from jail, of all people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because Billy was Detroit's manager, and before that was kind of before he eventually made his way to Texas and then obviously New York, where he had a varied storied time there, to say the least, 5 different times.
You want to add any more to LaFleur?
I
Outside of that?
mean, 1 in a million. I mean, from where he came from to be
Right.
playing Major League Baseball for a little bit, it's pretty amazing. And the story how they found him, though, is even crazier, with Billy Martin literally going into the jail and finding him.
I remember that movie, the made-for-TV movie that George brought up when I was a kid. I watched it, and I'll never forget that movie. He was so fast too. You're right, George. And the Tigers really haven't really been known for speed. So yeah,
exactly.
They don't have many burners in Detroit.
Anything else you want to add to that, Rob?
No, it's just that I remember that time period, and it is funny that Billy Martin got him out.
Of all people,
yeah, I know it really was. But like I said, I remember that movie well when I was a kid.
Okay, Candy.
Not much more to add that everybody else hasn't already talked about. So yeah, I mean, anytime movies remind you of real life, it kind of reminds me, and I know this is a baseball show, but kind of reminds me of The Replacements when the coach had to go get them out of jail too, so yeah, it's always good and fun to reminisce and have movies remind us of real times, as long as it's not real serious, let's put it that way.
Okay.
But
very good. All right, let's go ahead.
You want me to do a station break, Scott, or are you good?
Well, we'll go with one more topic and then we'll go to a station break. Just so you know, the Minnesota Twins will not be sold. So $400 million in debt. Rob, when you talks about the fact the Minnesota Twins won't be, I don't know. I think they're going to be bringing on local investors anyways to help the pull lads out. They're an excellent franchise.
Yeah, they really. It's a shame what's going on right now with Minnesota, and they unloaded everybody at the trade deadline. So they have to do something, because they really were. They were a great franchise, right, in the 80s, 90s, and it's a shame what's going on. And they if they could get local investors or whatever they have to do, but something has to be done. And you wouldn't want to see the Twins leave Minnesota.
No doubt about that. Candy?
As I affectionately call them, the Twinkies. I just can't imagine the Twins moving out of Minnesota. That's just shocking, and it's always surprising that they're not more competitive, that they've they've regressed as badly as they have. That's surprising to me too, because I always remember them being up there and competing and competing hard. Now, the fact that they had a fire sale as much as they did surprised me. I mean, most teams, even if you're not doing well, and even when like Miami was doing not well, you wouldn't see that many people on their roster get moved or shifted. But if you need to regroup and try and restart, that's what they did. I mean, that they have a complete different roster, and it's just crazy to think.
Okay. George?
Yeah, it is crazy to think. You're right, Candy, and especially during the middle of the season, you're doing that. You're doing it to your fans too, your fan base. If I was there, I wouldn't be happy right now. I mean, the Twins are, like you had said earlier, they're a team that was in contention for a number of years, and they handed it to the Tigers back in '87. When they played each other in that showdown series, and then they went on to win it all. And they've had some great players there in their history, but I'll tell you what, this owner, this is a tough situation now, and it's obviously a very tough sell. And like you said, Scott, I think the answer is you got to get some local supporters. You got to get some people in there. I'm sure Major League Baseball is concerned too. Try to get some investors in there that'll keep baseball in the Twin Cities, because you hit it right. You nailed it, Candy. That would be a shame for Major League Baseball to leave that Minneapolis-St. Paul vicinity, because that's rich in tradition, as we all know, dating back to Calvin Griffith. one of the fellas that Scott interviewed. I remember a long
Right.
time ago. And so anyways, that's a great franchise. Let's keep it.
Okay. Who's left? Eric?
Yeah. Well, first off, I strongly doubt they're going to leave Minnesota. They wasn't that their ballpark now at Target Field opened up in 2010, so the ballpark's like 15 years old right now. So I strongly doubt they're going to be going anywhere anytime soon. They've never actually floated the idea of them possibly leaving. It's just never come up, especially because they decided to twist the state of Minnesota's arm to give them public funding to fund that very fancy ballpark, which I had the good fortune of going to. I'm telling you, locals are mad. The locals are mad because they were okay with the fire sale first, thinking, all right, it's going to be easier for them to sell the team. The new ownership comes in with a blank slate. But no, they decide to pull out at the last minute and decide to anger the entire state. I mean, there's a reason people call them the cheap pull ads for a reason. They're just, that's just what they are. And this is the same family that I don't know if people remember, but the Expos and the Twins were up for contraction, meaning they were going to eliminate those two teams, particularly the Expos, which had problems all up and down their team. Several books and documentaries have been made and written on that since then. But the Twins were having some problems at the time with the stadium when they were at the Metrodome at the time, and the Polads were willing to take a buyout and let the team be contracted. That angered the state of Minnesota, and it took a judge to intervene, saying you must play out your lease at the Metrodome before you can even think about doing anything. And then eventually, about 2010, they ended up getting the stadium. It's just been awful for them. I feel terrible for Twins fans that you commence a fire sale with the intention of trying to sell. Yeah, they got local investors on board, but they haven't really named them who and how deep their pockets are. But shame on the Polads. They're just in it for the money. I mean, Joe, there's a reason, when you have an ownership family, when a sibling takes over, most of the time it generally doesn't go well, save for a few times here and there. If I'm them, pay down the debt as much as you can, then sell it to somebody else who actually cares. It's awful. It's terrible. I feel awful for Twins fans that they're going to have to endure what is most likely going to be a very long season in 2026.
Yeah, that's a shame too, because Pablo Lopez, I'm glad they still kept him anyways. Ryan Jeffers is a really good, solid catcher, and they have a few, and we know about Byron Buxton, but but it goes in and you have a fire sale of the like that. It's a shame. I'll be curious to see what direction they're definitely going.
Joe Ryan too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So, all right, we'll go on to one more topic. We're going to go to a station break. We're hoping to get Mickey Callaway in for one or two more topics. I know he's having some internet issues, but he'll be ready to go Friday and Saturday for sure. We'll try to get him on. So, with that said, this year will be Bob Carpenter's final season for the Washington Nationals. A lot of people that know he also was with the St. Louis Cardinals. So, Rob, what are your thoughts about Bob Carpenter?
Well, he's great. A lot of people don't realize that he also did Met games on TV for 2 years, and he won an Emmy. He won an Emmy for great sportscasting in New York. So, hey, he's a legend. He's one of those broadcasters who's a legend, who everyone knows, and it's great that he's been around so long, and just wish him, a great retirement. But yeah, I remember when he did the Mets for a couple of years.
Yeah, George?
Yeah, anytime we lose a great announcer like Bob Carpenter, we shed a little bit of a tear, and certainly he has had a great career, very distinguishable. And, like you said, that, he even had some years there in New York. I think that Carpenter probably, he's always going to be remembered for his call of games, no question about it. These guys today now, sometimes they don't last very long in the teams, unfortunately. Some of them only last a few years, and teams, for whatever reason, make changes. But Carpenter has done a great job. He's very knowledgeable on the game of baseball, and I'm really going to miss him. And I think a lot of people will miss him heading into next season and beyond. But that's a personal decision he wanted to make and move on. And certainly it's a tough decision for a broadcaster, no question about it.
Eric?
I mean, Bob Carpenter, he's one of the more known names out in baseball. And yeah, he was with the Cardinals. He was with the Cardinals for a while, and then eventually he made it. He's moved to the Nationals. Now I know he has his own scorebook that's custom made for him that he actually sells and makes a significant amount of money on. But it's he's been on TV for a while. He's had a very long run on television. It's hard nowadays with TVs these days with everything coming down to sponsors and money and all that other good stuff. And he's also known for doing, he's called the NCAA tournament 6 times. He was one of the early voices, I think, on ESPN. But it's, yeah, what a run. I mean, I'm sure now it's time to kind of look ahead and see what's next. The guy's 72 years old. So, I know everybody wants to, there's a difference between wanting to be Scully and actually being Scully, where you're on TV until you're 95 plus years old. But, it was a good run for him. Obviously he's going to, he's going to be missed. I'm sure sooner. I'm sure he'll get the Frick Award in the Hall of Fame very soon.
Yeah, that Ford Frick Award, that's a heck of an award. You can get it, and there's no reason to think that he definitely deserves it. All right, Candy.
From 78 to 84, he called soccer games. He's also called NC2A basketball on CBS, as well as college football and basketball games for USA Sports and Major League Baseball for NBC. In addition to baseball and college sports, he's called tennis, the U.S. Open in 95, golf, the Masters from 86 to 88 for USA Network. He's also called 6 NC2A basketball tournaments for ESPN and CBS, plus the 2005 Final Four in St. Louis for NC2A International. He has also called 7 no-hitters. How many broadcasters can say that? Like, I think about as many games as I have been to in my life. Like, I went as a kid. I've only been to 1. I've only seen 1 no-hitter, and he's called 7 no-hitters. That's just kind of crazy. I mean, it's amazing. But kudos for him to pick the time that he wants to go out on. I mean, how many of us can say, we get to pick when we want to leave? Like, some of us, it's not by choice. Some of us, it might be health. It might be other reasons. But, he's served a long career, and he gets a chance now to enjoy. And too many of us, some people you hear work way too long, and then what do they have? How many years do they have to enjoy? I've often said it's too bad that the retirement age around here isn't like 50. So you have some years to really enjoy, doing things before. I mean, let's all face it. Most people's health goes downhill after a while, but kudos to him.
As far as Bob Carpenter is concerned, his versatility says it all. When you talk about guys that are very versatile, you're talking about guys like Kenny Albert. We all know how good he is, right? The Brian Harlans, right? These guys are, and Bob Carpenter. And a lot of your best announcers generally end up with baseball gigs anyways. So this guy, Brian Anderson, I think is another one you have back in Milwaukee, right? Candy, Brian Anderson's another guy.
Great
Baseball is what it's at for a lot of these guys. It really, really, really is. And that's why Bob Carpenter is a guy that, to me, should be a Ford Frick Award at some point or another. And I'm glad that Bob is going out his own way and know, hey, I've gone out there and done what I had to do, and he knows when to leave on his own terms. Not every announcer gets to leave on his own terms, but at least he's going to be able to do that. George and I know if it wasn't for Mike Ilitch, the Ernie Harwell situation would have been a first-class debacle, and the Detroit Tigers would never have recovered from that, though. Mike Ilitch saved the Tigers in a lot of different ways. So with that said, we're going to talk about Bob Seymour. How about that? Okay. Bob Seymour becomes the first Bob to hit an MLB homer since 2002. 23 years with the Rays. Bobs! My goodness. We have a Rob talking about a Bob. How about that?
What's going on? What's going on with the no Bob home runs in that many years? That is just crazy. I think we need more Bobs in Major League Baseball, and we need them to hit some more home runs.
Candy?
I think he took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I mean, it amazes me because Bob is such a popular name. Like we just talked about Bob, the broadcaster. Now we're talking about Bob Seymour, and to think 23 years, really? I mean, that's just very surprising, Scott. But where you come up with some of these odd facts, I love it. But where you come up with them, I do not know.
I have a broadcasting mentality inside of me, Candy. If I were doing this stuff on radio, as our friend Tom George suggested on our show, I'll have a lot more of these because I enjoy digging this stuff up. That's what makes this stuff really good, right, George?
Oh,
Being able to come
absolutely.
up with facts, educating my following. I love when we do this stuff. So, hey, it is what it is. I love coming up with this stuff. When we get Callaway on, hopefully later tonight, it'll be others. It doesn't make a difference. We have a lot of stuff. So, all right, with that said, George, let's talk about the phenomenon called a Bob.
I can't believe that either. That seems unbelievable to be true. Oh man, that's a long drought for our friends that named Bob. Oh man, these crazy stats, Scott. Oh, it's incredible. I just you floored me on that one, man. You floored me. Just I'm glad the streak is broken now finally.
Yeah,
God.
It's not a stat that 90% of these
26 years old, Bob, from first baseman for the Rays, right? Yeah, and good for him. Good for him, man. That's
no disrespect to my competition on the baseball podcast, but they can talk about anything they want.
Yeah.
I'm too old to mess around. I want stuff that they're not going to come up with. And
That's
some
right.
of my mentors have gone out there and told me to be different, and that's exactly where stats like this and other ones come from.
You bet.
Eric?
I mean, that's incredible though. If it do go that long without a guy named Bob homering, you have to really work. You have to try. He would literally have to try. But yeah, good for him though. I mean, if he does nothing else in baseball, he at least got that going for him.
All right, well, there you have it. And we got TVK, Justice for Bob. We want Bob home runs. I love this guy. Great stuff. Okay. Candy, you better write those down as hashtags, okay? Because those will be two that I probably won't be able to get on here as well. She will jot those down. Thanks, TVK, for putting those out there as well. She's going to put those down there in her section. All right, well, in Bob, we trust with the Tampa Bay Rays anyways. So, great stuff. A week ago, we talked about Johan Santana. Since we have a Mets guy on here, we're going to talk about him again. Guess what? August 19th, 2007, he strikes out 17, a new club record. That was for Minnesota. He had 2 hits, no walks, an eighth inning gem en route to a 1-0 win over the Rangers. If that wasn't good enough, let's go back to Santana. And that's it. He hits his first and only home run. Leads the Mets to a 3-0 win over the Reds. How about that, Rob? This guy can hit. He helped his he only allowed 3 hits in that game.
I remember that game. Listen, it wasn't as big as the home run by Big Sexy against the Padres, but I mean that was a big home run. I remember that. We talked about it last week. Santana, he was great, but although he was starting, I don't think the no-hitter totally did it. I think he was starting to go a little downhill before that no-hitter, but really that no-hitter, after that he was never the same pitcher. Getting the first no-hitter in Mets history, that was great, but I think that was really, that didn't help his arm.
Oh, it didn't. Candy?
What more can we say? I mean, no hitters are hard to come by. Just much less 1, 2, or 3 hitters. Like, if you think about it, you're paid to. You have players that are paid to hit, and you have players that are paid to not allow somebody have a hit. So kudos to for his career and for that stat. Where you come up with some of these, Scott, I swear I do not know.
I like that theme tonight. Where do I come up with them? I put a lot of research into these shows. I really do.
I know you do.
George?
Yeah, I can't exactly remember that. I can't admit, I mean, that I remember that when it happened, but you look at his stats and he had a pretty decent career. He's really four-time All-Star, 139 wins. Strikeouts, listen to this, 1,988. So he missed that by 12 strikeouts to get to 2,000. But all that being said, you won the Triple Crown once too as a pitcher. And but Santana, yeah, he was on the cusp of greatness. He just didn't quite get there as of course he wanted. But he is in the Venezuelan Baseball Hall of Fame. He received 81% of the vote on that Hall of Fame. But Johan Santana, yeah, some great years with the Twins and the Mets as well. Yep.
Eric?
I mean, he was a big part of the Twins' success early on when it seemed like every year it was them winning the AL Central, not the Chicago White Sox. Back when it was those two teams practically running the divisions, sprinkling Cleveland here and there. But unfortunately for him, though, I think had his arm not given out when it did, I think he would have had a chance at getting in the Hall. But now, just with the arm giving out as early as it did, that's what ultimately held him back. But fun pitcher to see pitch, was a big part of the Twins' success. Just early on with the Mets, he had them rolled in the right direction. Unfortunately, though, that his arm just gave out, and eventually it just his career his career kind of went with it.
Okay. Well, Venezuela Baseball Hall of Fame. New information, George. Great stuff. Okay.
Oh, no problem. And he also is in the Twins Hall of Fame too. So good for him.
Okay. All right. Time for a station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons to the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by another panelist tonight, Mr. George Eichhorn. Great job, gentlemen. It talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the business and how the media has changed over that 40 years. Old school media versus new school media. There's also a picture of a young Scott with a young Tommy Lasorda. So go get your copy today to find the picture and to read the great stories. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. Please do so. Click it, like us, share us, and then turn your notifications on so you get notified whenever one of our great shows or our programming comes on. Or when we put up a great video like we did yesterday of Scott interviewing Don Mattingly. So go check that out. I can tell you Monday nights is baseball night. And preceding this, you were talking with the professor and pupil with Stephen Reichel. You were talking boxing, and you never know what else they'll throw in there. On Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights on Sports Exchange, you never know what you're going to get. The same with Fire Up on Thursday, but Sports Wrap is normally hockey. And then on Saturdays at 9 a.m., I believe it's 9 a.m., talking baseball again, because Scott just has so many baseball facts that he needs more than one show to put them all in. Actually, Monday nights is the baseball facts. On Saturdays, it's talking baseball with Mickey Callaway. They get more into the meat and guts of baseball and points of views and stuff like that. But then Scott always throws in a Motor City Madmouth show in someplace, which is a one-on-one interview show. So you got to go check out the YouTube channel. And then if you want to advertise or sponsor any of our shows, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And then you never know when Scott's going to be popping in on Rob's show or anybody else's show. So always tune in. Love it. There you go, Scott. Back to you.
I have a lot of fun. All I have to do is answer questions on that show. I do. I enjoy answering questions and talking to people in your chat room. You got one of the most active chat rooms I've ever seen. That's great stuff. That's a tribute to you and Chris, what you do to get that group going there.
Thanks.
Yeah, you guys do an incredible job. Your marketing prowess is unbelievable.
Thanks.
I'm still waiting for Anthony Sabino to get on there and go toe to toe with me. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick on him until I can get him on the air. You guys did a good marketing job. I can't wait to get it. I won't. And the better that Toronto plays, the more I can stick it in his where the sun doesn't shine either. All right, let's continue on here. All right, so let's talk about I'm going to give you 3 Red Sox and give me the best of the 3. Jim Rice, and I'll tell you what I really know about this WAR WAR. I'll just read off numbers and we can go from there. But let's talk about Jim Rice, who had a career WAR of 47.7, Fred Lynn 50.2, and then Dwight Evans 67.2. Who's the best of the 3, Rob?
It's so tough, Scott. But you know what?
You think I'm supposed to make these easy? Really? Seriously? Really? Come on.
I'm gonna go with Jim Rice just because of the power. But he's right. Listen, all 3 of them are great. Fred Lynn, Dwight Evans. I saw all of them play, of course. Jim Rice. We remember from the '86 team that almost won the World Series, but somebody stopped him. But I'm gonna go with Jim Rice, but that's just barely.
Okay, that's fair enough, George. I just see Eichhorn.
Well, we all know that Jim Rice was a great ball player. Oh my God, I loved him. But that guy Fred Lynn, he would destroy the Tigers more often than you could imagine. In his career, he had some unbelievable stats at the old Tiger Stadium. I mean, he just loved playing there. He loved it so much, in fact, that the Tigers made a trade. People forget that he came to Detroit. He wasn't in many ball games. I think in '88 he was in 27 games and batted only .222. So it's kind of a weird story, only because when he was a Tiger, he did not light it up as he did when he was a Red Sox coming and playing at Tiger Stadium. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to go with Freddie Lynn on this one.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say him. After the stats I bombarded you with the last time you were on the show with Red Lynn. For some reason or another, I know Eichhorn all too well. What do you think, Eric?
Do I have to pick one as a Yankee fan?
I gave you 3 choices. Now you got to work with this group, brother.
Well, oh man, I mean, I think had Fred Lynn stayed healthy, though, he would have been. I think he would have been a Hall of Famer. I've been Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. That's like unheard of. The guy who, the guy who's come close to that recently was Aaron Judge. But it's a obviously, Evans was good, but I got to go with Rice. The power there. He was the Reds. He defined the Red Sox during the '80s. Probably him and Roger Clemens at that point in time. So I got to go with Rice because he single-handedly, owned the decade. I think you could probably say he was a big part of American League Baseball during the '80s next to John Mattingly, because those two both were constantly battling for MVP awards.
Candy?
Jim Rice played his entire 16-year MLB career with the Boston Red Sox. He has over 2,452 hits, 382 runs, and 1,451 runs batted in. He's 8-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger Award, 3-time AL home run leader, 2-time AL RBI leader. He was a player for the Red Sox from 74 to 89, and then he was a coach for the Red Sox from 95 to 2000. He was an 8-time American League All-Star and was named the AL's most valuable player in 78 after becoming the first major leaguer in 19 years to hit for 400 total bases. He went on to become the 9th player to lead the major leagues in total bases in consecutive seasons. He joined Ty Cobb as one of 2 players to lead the AL in total bases 3 consecutive seasons. Anytime you get compared to the likes of a Ty Cobb, how do you not put him up there? You know, he batted above 300 7 times during his 16 season career and collected 100 plus runs batted in 8 times. He also had 200 hits in 4 seasons and 20 plus home runs 11 times. He just, he was a great hitter. That's who my pick would be Jim Rice.
Okay. I don't know why. I'm going to say Dwight Evans. I am going to say Dwight Evans. I love his defense. He's a threat defensively. Hit for an adequate amount of power as well. But yet, you can't go wrong with Jim Rice. And Fred Lindo actually played for the Tigers at the tail end. But Jim Rice did get in the Hall of Fame, but he got in late in his candidacy. He didn't get in early. But he's in. That's all that matters.
Got it. Got in on his final year of eligibility on the writers ballot, which happy he got in though was I think it was a bit overdue on his part.
Exactly, that's my point. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate you putting that in there. But I don't know why. I just think in my mind I like Dwight Evans. Just the feeling that I have, and I'm going to go with Dwight.
You also have to look at like who he played with though. That could also factor in because some guys get in the Hall of Fame late just because that's just the era they played in. There were guys who were like looked at a little more highly than they are. That's the unfair thing about the ballot is sometimes it really depends on who you play with. Like there are some very good players who probably won't get in because of who they were playing with during that time. Otherwise, any other year they're in.
Okay. All right. The Milwaukee Brewers are the first team since 2015. Toronto Blue Jays. This is unbelievable. Since 2015, the Toronto Blue Jays to a record multiple win streaks of 11 plus games in a season. They earned this feat by crushing the Pittsburgh Pirates 14-0. I believe that was the game Paul Skeens played in, wasn't that when he got hammered? I remember right, Candy?
Yep.
So with that said, can we see the Toronto Blue Jays and the Milwaukee Brewers in the World Series? I wonder.
The field is wide open this year, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric. You can lead off with it.
Possibly. I mean, the field is wide open. There is no clear-cut favorite. Everybody can go with the Dodgers. Well, San Diego and at certain points during the year, San Francisco was giving LA a run for their money. They're not letting them walk away with the division. There's no way they're going to have. And everybody was, and they're not letting people have the idea that the Dodgers would have it clinched by Labor Day. They're up, it's wide open this year. Anybody can grab it. And I have a feeling, Scott, it's going to be the kind of year where either A, some team who hasn't won it since you had hair is going to get in, or B, it's going to be a team that nobody expected.
Okay,
and I hope you enjoyed the comment say where a team who hasn't won it since you had hair was a good one.
Well, I always enjoy your comments. Everybody gives me credit for where I come up with some stuff. I tell you, you're not bad either, kid. You did. You come up with some great stuff. That's why I love having this Catsy on this show. Unbelievable stuff. Great stuff, Catsy. Of course, he was trained by me, but he didn't need to be trained by me when it came to baseball. This kid simply has it. All right, go ahead, George.
3-6. The Brewers are 3-6 in their last 9 games. But they've had a great run. They really have. First team to win 80 games. Tremendous year they're having. And I'd like to see them. I wouldn't mind them. I'd like to see the Tigers get in there. But if I'm a betting man, I would have to say Milwaukee's got just as good a chance as anybody. I mean, you got it wide open. You're right, Catsy. It is wide open. San Diego's got a chance. The Dodgers have a chance. Because just go up and down the list in the National League. But Milwaukee's got just as good a chance as anybody to get there. And that is an accomplishment that is unheard of, these 11-game winning streaks.
much less have 2 of them.
Twice, in 1 year. Look at that. Unbelievable. Hats off. Kudos to your team, Miss Candy.
Yeah.
All right, well, good segue. Go ahead, Candy.
So the Brewers are playing inspired baseball. Part of it is in part to the tribute that they did yesterday. And yeah, I know they lost the game yesterday to San Francisco, but they had a tribute to Bob Uecker. They renamed the press box Bob Uecker's Broadcast Center. If you don't know, Bob passed away in January. He had been an icon. He had been a fixture in Milwaukee baseball for over 55 years and more than that, because that's how long he's been broadcasting, for over 50 years.
Yep.
Pat Murphy has them playing like they're having fun, inspired, no pressure. The only pressure they felt was, if you don't know, they had to win their 12th to give free burgers from George Webb. And that they did, I think I read it was over 200,000 burgers they gave away free. It was like 20 pounds of meat and just astronomical numbers. But kudos to them for having these streaks. Kudos, because nobody predicted them in the beginning of the year to do well. And they're consistently been doing better than most people thought. Now, my only thing is they've got to stay hot, and in September, I don't see them dropping off, but they need to stay hot as well.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric, you're right. I would love to see them in the World Series. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it'd be great for the city.
It would
Rob?
be.
Yeah, of course. Like Kat said before, it's wide open. No one's running away with anything. When you thought Detroit, George, was going to just slide on down with no problems, they've had their problems. Every team has. They're having their up and downs. It's a marathon. We know that. But yes, of course, Milwaukee could play Toronto. Why not? Anyone, whoever's hot during the playoffs is going to get into the World Series. We know that's the key, and they got to have a good bullpen. That's another key. But Pat Murphy, like Candy said, he's done an amazing job. I didn't think Milwaukee was going to do that great because of the way they were shocked out of the postseason last year. I thought that they might have a little hangover from that. But no, he's doing a great job with them. They're playing great. And, of course it could be a Brewers, Blue Jays World Series.
Boy, it certainly seems like an intriguing possibility, that's for sure. We'll stay with the Brewers, and we'll talk about Bob Melvin, who they actually said, I hate to admit this at this point, because the team is 63 and 68 at this point. Hate to admit that we're at a point where he has to bench players to look at others after their 121st game. Meanwhile, the Giants did take 2 or 3 from the Brewers. So Bob Melvin has his hands full in the Brewers, like Candy and you guys alluded to, but they did take 2 or 3, including Uecker's day. So what are your thoughts, Rob, about the situation that Melvin is in and what we saw over the weekend?
Well, the Giants in the beginning of the year gave a little hope, right? People thought they were in it with the Dodgers and the Padres because of all the Dodgers problems. And, they were for a while, but they're not. And it's time to, let young kids play so that they could get a better look at them. So, he's doing what teams do when they're out of it. They, let the young guys play and they get a look at them.
Candy?
This is the reason why you play a game, because any team can beat any other given team on any given day. But it's exciting to see young blood being infused into some of these teams. San Francisco, they played well against the Brewers. And I would venture to say one of the things that you have to make sure is that you're not making some mental mistakes. And I would say there was a couple of mental mistakes that I saw in the Brewers in the game that I saw the other day, but they're still playing good. And kudos to the Giants. One of the things that they have is they have one of the Brewer former Brewer players that is a fan favorite in Willie Adames, and he played well. I mean, let's face it, he came out Friday night against his former team and hit 2 home runs. You know, they're playing loose, and that's what you need, the no pressure, and that's when you do well.
Well, number one, Bob Melvin didn't forget how to manage overnight. The guy's a heck of a manager. He really is. His track record speaks for itself. They're in transition in San Francisco. They've traded away some talent at the trade deadline. I don't think it's Bob Melvin's fault, but yeah, you're right. That's what's going on. And I hope he has a chance to go there at least another year or two to continue what he's doing. All right, George?
Yeah, I've always admired Bob as a manager. He's really done a great job in his career, and certainly he didn't anticipate this. The fans didn't anticipate this. They thought they had a shot at it this year, but obviously you got to play the games and you got to win. And they had a lot of losing streaks so far this year, the Giants, and it would, to me, yeah, it was surprising that they would spoil the Bob Uecker weekend and take 2 games in a row off of the plate of the Milwaukee Brewers. But I'll tell you what, Bob's a great manager. He is. He always seems to bounce back. He's got a good reputation. He knows how to train and to manage young guys, young players. So I would expect them to bounce back. It's a very difficult division, but if anybody's going to do it, I would say Bob Melvin is the kind of manager. And I'm like you, Scott. I sure hope they give him another couple of years at least.
Eric?
Well, in terms of Bob Melvin staying, that's also going to greatly depend on what Bruce Bochy does, because I'm hearing stuff that he's going to walk away from Texas, and then he's free, and his their president of baseball operations, or whatever you call him these days, it happens to be Buster Posey, who Bochy won 3 World Series rings with. So we'll wait and see on that front. But Bob's seen everything this sport has to offer. He's been at it for a very long time. He's used to managing young players because he did that every year in Oakland when Oakland would have to let go of their guys and move forward with a younger core. He's also done it, and he also has managed veteran guys in San Diego when San Diego would have their annual free agency palooza. But he's about seeing it all. I know San Francisco is not spending money like drunken sailors like they do in San Diego, but it's still a mix of veteran guys, and I know that they're trying to get some young guys in that lineup. And right now they're kind of toward the end of the year where they're trying, with them kind of most likely not going to the postseason, that they're trying to see kind of what the future looks like. Now, and we'll see what happens though, because Posey's only been there a year, so he really hasn't put his stamp on the team yet. He's kind of just sorting through the wreckage of Farhan Zaidi, who had a little bit longer of a leash than he really should have in San Francisco. So right now he's kind of sorting through that garbage, and it's going to be interesting to see what Posey decides to do with the manager this offseason, because because Zaidi hired Bob Melvin. Posey didn't Posey didn't hire him. So it's really going to see whether Posey. But I think what it's going to come down to whether Melvin keeps his job or not. Yeah, I think he deserves another year or two at it, but it's going to greatly come down to whether or not Bruce Bochy walks away from the Rangers. Because I promise you, if Bochy is out on the market, Posey is going to go after him. I can guarantee it, because there was nothing that would make Posey happier more than seeing Bochy in the dugout. But again, it's going to greatly depend on what Bochy decides to do in the offseason.
I've heard that too, Eric. I think you make some valid points about the fact that Bochy could return to San Francisco, and Posey's the reason. I'm glad you brought that up.
Let me ask just real quick, Scott. Why did he leave then in the first place, Bochy, when he left?
He retired.
He retired.
I think he was just
burned out.
Yeah, the team was kind of in transition. The team was kind of in transition at that point.
Okay.
Bochy,
yeah, because I couldn't remember the circumstances. Yeah, why he left. Yeah,
and then he goes to Texas, wins a World Series. He's having fun again. Texas kind of stuck in the middle of the road now, and so now he's thinking about walking away there, not necessarily to retire, because I think Bochy's having fun with it again, even regardless of the situation. And I think that what you'll see is if he gets on the open market, because I know San Francisco is not going to be the only team that's going to go after him, but I know Posey's going to make a serious run at him. I'm telling you, if Posey wants a guy, he's going to go make a run at him.
All right, let's go to the chat room real quick. Pat Murphy, Manager of the Year. He won it last year. Continues the way he's going. I don't see any reason why he can't do it twice. He's the only manager in Milwaukee Brewers history to win that honor, I believe. Right, Candy? So go ahead, Candy. Anything you want to add to this topic?
I was going to say for that, if we ended the voting today, yes, I would say Pat Murphy for the Manager of the Year. But there's still a good month and a half of baseball to go. And I think, as Eric said before, it's wide open. No team is really running away with it. So I think that depending on how things pan out this last month and a half of the season will determine whether that stays to fruition or not.
Okay, great stuff. All right, build your own team. I want you guys to choose every one of these players: Pete Rose, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, Rod Carew. We'll lead off with you, Rob.
Yeah, that another tough one. Scott, you really don't make it easy. But, you know, I was going to say Gwynn, but I'm going to go with Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose. Let's get away from all the betting and all that other crap. Nobody played the game harder than Pete Rose. Nobody wanted to win more than Pete Rose. And, you know, Pete, we know some of the things Pete Rose did. But if I'm starting a team, you know, I wouldn't mind starting with Pete Rose.
Candy?
You know, how do you not do Rod Carew, who had over 3,000 hits, 1,015 runs batted in. He also was 18-time All-Star, 18-time, 7-time AL batting champion. Minnesota Twins retired his number, and the Angels retired his number. I'd go Rod Carew.
George?
Well, those are the two top contenders as far as I'm concerned, but I will go also with what Rob said. Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose, without all the outside distractions and what happened to him, unfortunately, his own fault. But, hey, man, this guy was a hustling dude. We all know what he did to Ray Fosse in the All-Star game of all places. And, you know, I really think this is a very, very difficult choice. You got that right. But I'm going to go with Hustle, okay? You know, Cincinnati was a wonderful franchise and a big red machine and had a lot to do with Pete Rose's career. So he's number one in my book.
How about you, Eric? By the way, Eddie Prather, I would love to see both you at the Yankees. And you never know. that intrigues me.
That'd be good.
It's a very intriguing possibility. I know Eric would probably love it.
I'd love it, yeah.
Bochy wins everywhere.
Bochy's won everywhere he's gone.
I like Prather. Even though these aren't one of the choices, he can put Ichiro in there. Okay, I'll give him that. But it's not one of the choices. But this is for the internal people. If he wants to come up with Ichiro Suzuki, I have no problem with it. All right, Eric.
I got to go Pete Rose. Nobody hustled harder and played the game harder than Pete Rose. I mean, he helped two different teams win the World Series, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Cincinnati Reds. With the Phillies, didn't win the World Series until about 2008. And that was years after Rose retired. So if you think about that, let's think about that for a second. You know, you can't go wrong with Pete Rose. I mean, say what you will about the guy and what he did and the things that he did to himself and all that other stuff, but you can't deny what he did on the field. It evidently never got in the way of him on the field because the guy bashed the ball to the tune of over 4,000 hits, which I don't think anybody's going to break anytime soon, given how they don't let these guys play every day anymore. So, you know, got to go with Pete Rose. I think he also instilled his team with an attitude of playing hard every day. I mean, you talk to his players now, his former Reds players now, like guys like Paul O'Neill and others who played under him, man, they've got nothing but good things to say about him when he managed. Obviously, he never went to the postseason. That's because at the time there was no wild card. So, you know, maybe at a different time, Pete Rose's teams go to the playoffs, and who knows what happens.
And so the obvious choice, according to the panel, is Pete Rose. But if I had to put a vote in there, I'd go with Tony Gwynn. This guy was just one of the best pure hitters that's ever played the game, and he was always challenging Ted Williams in terms of batting average at all. So I think everybody across the board is valid. There's really, I don't think there's, one of the reasons I threw this topic in there is I don't think there's a bad decision you can make if you have to go with any of the panel. And that's why I opted to put it in there. There are no wrong answers as far as I'm concerned with this, which is why I put this out there. All right, Seattle Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh hit 49 home runs.
He
broke
just hit
Salvador
50.
Perez's.
He just hit number 50,
Did he
Scott.
really?
Sorry.
All right, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
No big deal. Well, now he's up to 50. He broke Salvador Perez amongst catchers, and Salvador obviously had 48. All right, well, since you've given us the update, some thoughts about Cal Raleigh.
Well, listen, we talked about it last week, right? Just unbelievable hitting for a catcher. What power, all-star, home run derby winner. Seattle is where they are because of he's one of the main reasons Seattle is where they are. So the guy is just great. And hey, who wouldn't want him catching for their team, right?
50 home runs is unbelievable from that position. Candy?
You know, I get 50 home runs for a catcher is a lot, but I've always thought of catchers as the one that they should be the ones that are hitting these because they've seen so many pitches. They see how many ones are balls, how many are strikes. They know all the ins and outs and how to distract the batter. So they should be able to, take the other catcher out. And I've always thought the one thing catchers had to have are strong legs because they're always crouching down for how much of the game. And if they have such strong legs and if they use those, they would hit for a lot more power. So kudos to him for hitting 50. I mean, he's 28 years old, but that's a position I really think there should be more home runs being hit from. I mean, I remember back in the day, Gorman Thomas and Ted Simmons and the likes of them, hitting for power as well.
George?
Yeah, hats off, man. That's unbelievable streak. I'll tell you what, though, some of them were as a DH, but they've already looked at that. That still doesn't harm anyone as far as setting this record, because even though he was a DH for some of those games, so were the other guys too that he was chasing. Yeah, I mean, talk about a lift for Seattle, unbelievable. And you talk about, man, a power hitter. Whoo, wow. It's really remarkable. Johnny Bench, of course, was one of the great hitters of all time, the catcher. And there were others, of course, like you mentioned, Gorman Thomas and Lance Parrish and a few others. But I'll tell you what, this guy's just over the top greatness, man. Oh, next contract extension or new contract for him, look out. The sky's the limit.
Well, Seattle's got the money to pay for it. They'll pay for it out there. They got some pretty good ownership.
For sure, yeah.
Eric?
Well, they already signed him to an extension this past offseason, which what they signed him for, they're practically getting a bargain for him right now. So, we all don't have to worry about that. But the fact he's doing this as a catcher and having sustained offense, okay. In today's game, every power hitter is going to have their turn as designated hitter. That's just the way we're going right now. That's just every power hitter. Judge does it. Soto does it. All the power, you name a power hitter, I'm sure they've seen some time as designated hitter. I know Adley Rutschman's done it. Like every power hitter in the league today has seen some time this year as a designated hitter. So what are we doing saying, oh, he did it as a designated hitter? Well, when Judge hit the home runs, hit all those home runs in 2022. He saw some time as DH. So, I don't get what the issue is there, because you still got to see ball, hit ball. So it's not, nothing's really changing there. And it's never been harder to hit the baseball in the game today. But the fact he's doing this as a catcher, a mentally and physically taxing position, gosh, most of the time when you're a catcher, you're too beat to hit the ball. That's why you're seeing a lot of catchers, come to the plate and they're not, and they're not really hitting the ball because they're managing a pitching staff, taking balls off all parts of their body, sometimes uncovered with the padding there, which is just gruesomely painful, and sometimes off the helmet too. But the fact what he's doing as a catcher is unbelievable. I mean, he's doing it also in a ballpark that's offensively challenging. where it's very, very hard to hit a home run there, where the batter's eye's right in your face. I mean, we've heard players in the league complain about it, but the fact he's taking it like no big deal and just launching these titanic home runs is just unbelievable. Actually, I was fortunate enough to see him in Chicago and watch him hit one of those home runs as well, where it wasn't hit, I don't think, particularly hard, but man, it kept carrying though. I guess you can credit the Chicago wind for you can credit the wind off Lake Michigan at Wrigley Field for that one. But it's unbelievable what he's doing. I wrote about it earlier in the years, saying like what he's doing is just incredible, and the fact that he's already shattered Salvador Perez's catcher's home run record is unbelievable. I mean, do I think he has a shot at getting Aaron Judge's record? Perhaps, but he's gonna have to get a move on here though, because we're starting to get late in the year. But 50 home runs for a catcher, that's unbelievable. I mean, he's gonna probably blow this catcher's home run record into another generation. I really do believe that.
Yeah, you know what? I'll make my comments brief. I have a few more things I want to get to, but I'm with you all the way, Eric. To do it as a catcher to me is unbelievable. Period. And when you talk about guys like Johnny Bench, you put him in that classification. It's unbelievable. Cal Raleigh is a major reason why the Seattle Mariners are a dangerous team. And as everybody's mentioned, if these playoffs are going to be wide open, keep in mind, Seattle Mariners have never been to a World Series in their history. We'll see if that can change too.
They've got a nice rotation.
Yeah, they sure do. Wouldn't it be amazing? This is just a hypothetical. We won't dwell on it. You had a Seattle Mariners, Milwaukee Brewers World Series. Oh my God!
The Brewers started in Seattle before they came back.
That's my point. Period. Leave it at that.
A used car salesman named Bud Seeley bought them, and also
I know. I just threw it out there. I was waiting for you to come back anyway. And you did exactly what
Ball 4 came from there.
Yeah, did it? Okay.
The Seattle Pilots, Jim Bowden.
Oh, okay. Yep. There you go. All right. Well, not everybody knows as much history as you do, anyway.
I read the book.
Yeah. Okay. I figured you did. As long as you read mine and you read that, I'm good. All right. 10-year contract. Who would you give one to? The choices are Albert Pujols, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds. Start off with you, Rob.
Junior. I would give it to Junior because, let's face it, when he was with Seattle, no one was better than Ken Griffey Jr. All right, he did fade when he ended up with Cincinnati towards the end of his career with the injuries. But really, for those Seattle teams, under Lou Piniella, let me tell you, Griffey Jr. was awesome, and he had the highest percentage votes getting into the World Series. Into Rivera got in unanimously. So I would pick out it, and all of them are great, but I would pick Junior.
Okay, Candy.
I'd pick Junior as well. He played 22 years. He was a 13-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove, 7-time Silver Slugger Award, 4-time AL home run leader. I would pick Ken Griffey Jr.
George.
Well, I'm going to continue the streak. I'm going to say Ken Griffey Jr. also. I love his stats. I love his perseverance. I like the way he hustled. I like the way he contributed to his team in so many different ways, hitting especially, but also fielding and running. And, he's just a really good ball player. Ken Griffey Jr. is my choice.
Eric?
Gotta go Griffey Jr. Probably the best player of two or three different decades. In Cincinnati, part of that was he got hurt a lot. That's part of the reason why he faded. I wouldn't put it completely on skill though, because there was nobody had a more beautiful swing at that point in time than Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, you look at it, boom, it was featured on. It was so marketable. It was featured on commercials all that you couldn't even turn on. He was the equivalent of what Taylor Swift was when you can't even turn on the TV without seeing him everywhere. And so you cannot go wrong with Ken Griffey Jr. there. Great player. Was a huge part of the resurgence of the Seattle Mariners in Seattle, and there's just no one better.
Well, I'll go ahead and make this Unanimous too. I'm going with Ken Griffey Jr. I can tell you what, I wouldn't put Bonds in there. That's for sure.
The jerk.
You know, which one do you want? The Pittsburgh version of the San Francisco? No way on Bonds. And the other choice that we have in this group here is you have Albert Pujols. Well, I think they tried that long 10-year deal with him in the Angels, and how did that work out? He faded on the back end of it. All right, we'll stay on the unanimous theme here and go toward Pujols as the unanimous Hall of Fame selection. Rob?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll get in. He definitely should.
Getting in is one thing. Unanimous, 100%, pal.
100. Oh, you okay? I thought you meant with us saying
no, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know if he's going to get 100% because look, Ichiro didn't. There's going to be someone out there who doesn't do it. So I misunderstood your question, but now that I know what it,
that's all right. That's why I clarified it early. Okay.
Nah, he's not getting in 100%.
Candy?
Not 100%, no.
George?
Hey, listen, if they didn't do it for a lot of the other guys, they're not going to do it for him. I'll say no. He will not get 100%. He'll get in the mid-90s, though.
Thanks, Maria, for the kind words. We appreciate it. I don't know if you were referring to Mickey earlier. He's having internet problems, but you'll see him on Saturday as well as on Friday night with Rob and Chris. But he'll address some of the topics, and we're making sure everybody gets a crack at them anyway. Eric?
I don't think he'll get in unanimously. I mean, Ichiro didn't, and Ichiro probably is a position player who probably deserved it the most to get in unanimously. I think they're going to use a few of his fading years with the Angels against him, especially the years where he was injured. I mean, he still had some good seasons in Anaheim, but he wasn't like the same guy as he was with he wasn't the same guy as he was, when he was in St. Louis. I mean, still good, still productive, but not nearly what he was when he was hitting over 120 plus RBI every single year. But I wouldn't, I don't think they will. I think they're going to use a few of those years against him. And besides, they didn't put Ichiro in unanimously. They didn't put Derek Jeter in unanimously. And I just even before him, there were some great ball players who were significantly better who didn't get in unanimously, who were just good forever until they retired to the point where you thought they could play until they were 50. But I don't see him getting in. That's unanimously. He'll get in obviously at first ballot, but I don't think it'll be unanimously because we've seen what the writers have done.
Eddie Prather's on target. Mariano Rivera's the only one that got in 100%. There were other ones that should have gotten in for sure. There's no question about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. A couple more topics I want to get to, moving along real well here tonight. Mainly just a couple FYIs. June 4th, 1974, the Cleveland Indians hosted a 10-cent beer night.
It was bad.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It was bad.
What was that?
It was really bad, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can only imagine with those beer nights. Anybody else want to comment on that real quickly?
Yeah,
I remember that when I was a kid. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, George.
Well, the crew chief was Nestor Shylock, one of the best umpires in history. And he was forced with his crew to talk about this and whether there was going to be a forfeit in that game. And some stupid fan got out of hand and they hit Nestor Shylock with a chair. Yeah. And it was just a horrible situation. Nestor Shylock is a Hall of Fame umpire, and obviously his number is even retired by baseball. It's not just because of that incident, but it does go to show that when you get this liquor or this beer in you so much at such a high rate and for a low price, you're opening yourself up to some riots in the stand, so to speak. And that's what I remember most about the 10-cent beer night, Scott. It was a black eye for baseball, but especially for the Cleveland Indians.
Great point. Okay. Well, who hasn't commented on this?
Me. I just wanted to say something real quick. There was a brawl on the field, too, if you remember.
Right.
And that's what started, besides, everybody being drunk. That really started it. And then over 25,000 fans with 10-cent beers and a streaker ran on the field too. So like George said, it was just a mess.
Yeah.
Who's left?
Yeah.
Candy.
No, it's
Go
not.
ahead, Eric.
Eric. Yes.
Well, first off, you put beer that cheap, you're just asking for something bad to happen. I mean that event made the '86 Mets celebration when they won the NL East division look like a tea party, even though that was pretty bad too, but not nearly what 10-cent beer night was. But they had to forfeit the game. There were 25,000 people on the field. That got out of hand real fast, and
Right.
I can guarantee you there were no more 10-cent beer nights in Cleveland from then on. But it was just bad. I mean, when you lower the price of liquor, you got to know that there's going to be some problems that come with it, especially when you lower the price and everyone's wallets become a little deeper. Oh boy.
Okay. Raise your hand if you haven't spoken on this. Candy, do you want to talk about it?
I mean, like Eric said, you drop a price of liquor, you're going to expect people to drink too much because, hey, it's cheap, and it was probably cheaper than buying sodas at that point at 10 cents a beer.
Yeah.
And so people are going to drink that, and some people that normally don't, you have a couple, and you're just asking for trouble. That's all.
I like getting further. Disco Demolition Night was also bad. Good point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was
Yeah,
awful.
great. Thanks, Eddie. And by the way, just so you know, on here, you are one of the leading candidates to the Leonard giveaway. Keep producing these types of comments, and you're going to move back to the front of the pack faster than you can realize. So it's about engagements as far as what this contest is with Stephen Reichel and I. And you keep those engagements. In my opinion, you'd be my odds-on favorite to win. We're going to be promoting sooner or later. All right, Rob, did you get your 2 cents in, or is everybody set on this?
I got my 2 cents
Yep.
in. My
I will
10
all
cents.
say this: 10 cents a beer. I don't even buy it for $2-3 a beer, so it doesn't make any difference. But I understand the promotion. I get what they have to say. All right, Eric, go ahead.
I will say I was in Cleveland in August, and they have something before the games called $2 beer. So they still got something going there. But I can promise you, the atmosphere is a little more controlled because we have too many cameras nowadays.
That's true.
Otherwise we'll have. Otherwise, we're gonna have bigger fish to fry here.
Okay. Well, I like that. Okay, our unknown of the day happens on August 8th, 1889. Everyone's going to say, oh my God, you came up with another different one. You got it. A guy by the name of Jack Glassock hits with a cycle, helping Indianapolis to a 14-1 win over New York. I don't know what New York team it is, and I'm not going to go back and research that much. But yes, we have cycles people in 1889. What do you think? Do you want to even? We know it wasn't the Mets.
No, but you want to know, listen, and do you know what else happened? Because you research, I research that it was the Giants. It was the New York Giants, by the way. They lost their baggage on their way to the game from Chicago, so they had to wear the old Indianapolis uniforms. So it was a mess on the field that day.
Okay, that's good. Unknown fact, he made it known it was the Giants, the New York baseball Giants. Candy.
I'm still doing research because obviously this was way before my time.
Well, my great grandparents weren't even born then, or maybe they were. No, actually.
Really, Scott?
Or they were close.
Really, Scott? You sound.
I will come back to you, Candy, afterwards. All right.
So I'll go. Yeah. So he was nicknamed Pebbly Jack. He was the top player at his position in the 1880s during the sport's bare-handed era. He led the National League in fielding percentage 7 times and in assists 6 times. He was the only shortstop to lead in fielding position percentage and total chances in a season 3 times until Louis Aparicio matched him.
Aparicio. All right, there you go.
Okay. Ozzie Smith eventually surpassed him. He also led the National League in double plays 4 times and in putouts twice. He won the 1890 batting title with a .336 average for the Giants and led the league in hits twice. In his final season, he became the 6th major league player to make 2,000 hits. He was the first player to appear in over 600 games as a shortstop and ended his career in the major league records for games, putouts, assists, total chances, double plays, and fielding percentage at the time. When he retired, he ranked 5th in major league history in games at bats with 7,030 and 7th in total bases and 8th in doubles. So gives you some stats for him.
There you go. All right. So there you go. For those of you that did not know who Jack Classic is, now you know. All right, George.
I did not know who Jack is. Yeah, but thank you for filling me in on his career.
Well, I didn't know about his career.
Good job, Scott. No, that's some remarkable stuff. Even back then, you know, you look at those films of those old guys trying to catch a ball, and those mitts were like, you know, so small and everything. It was just a different game back then. But as far as hitting goes, hey, he did it all. I definitely know who he is now.
Well, I'm going to find out if Mickey Callaway and the other manager Riggleman knows who he is on Saturday.
Yeah.
How's that sound? All right, we'll find
Sounds
out
good.
if they know. This one will definitely carry over since Mickey, unfortunately, wasn't able to get past his internet problems, but we'll have him back a couple times later this week. So, all right, Eric, you have the last word on Mr. Glassock.
Well, from how you describe it, Scott, it sounds like you were actually at the game.
But really, seriously, really, you doing that to me?
I had to throw it a little lightning bolt at you.
My kid did that to me. Really?
I came from the top rope. I could not resist.
I know you did pretty well putting me in that. Yeah, okay. Is this one flew with a cuckoo's nest, or what's that? What's that? What's that
you're
movie?
Giving more ammo.
Yeah,
One flew over the cuckoo's nest. Yeah, Jack Nicholson was in it.
Yeah, but who's the one where you had those old people over at the cafeteria? I'm trying to remember.
On Golden Pond? No.
No, not that one.
That
It was Jack Nicholson in it because I'm.
I don't know. Never mind. Now
You mean the bucket list? You mean the bucket list?
No, not that one.
No,
it'll come back to me at a later date. I know it will.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive though that they were hitting for cycles back then too, because the ball was significantly larger. It was basically the size. You could probably argue it's the size of almost the size of a bowling ball. And they probably didn't have bullpens back then. The starter threw at least 200, could throw up to 200 to 300 plus pitches with no elbow problems. And they had no players association back then, so the only people that got rich in this game were owners. So, but you know, pretty impressive though, especially for the time.
For sure.
Yeah, that blows me away. But that's why I enjoy coming up with this stuff because again, unlike our podcast competitors, they in their right mind wouldn't come up with this stuff. That's why I'm not in my right mind. That's why we aim to educate, entertain, and inform, and that's what we're here to try to do. That said, as we get ready to wrap up this show, Rob, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
We're just expanding all over the place. So you could get us at NYMLB Talk on Facebook or Rob Maraska. But we have a big audience on Facebook too. YouTube, X, TikTok, everywhere, just like you guys. And we can't wait until next Friday night when Scott returns with Mickey Callaway. We're looking forward to that. There's a buzz about it already with our audience, and we're just looking forward to it. And Eric Katz is coming on too. I'm going to talk to Eric after the show, and we're just your guys are really great. They've been coming on the show, and we've been having fun with them.
Well, I'm glad that they can get the exposure on your show. Why not? You and Chris do a wonderful job. I enjoy when my guys get other opportunities to go on everywhere else. Candy, something you want to add?
I want to add one thing to Mr. Glasscock. He
Okay.
was one of the most difficult players of the 19th century to strike out, doing so just once in every 33 at-bats. Had to get the number 33.
Candy just couldn't wait to get more stats out. And you know what, on this one, but I'll tell you what, Candy, you probably volunteered yourself to come on our show with Riggleman and Mickey when you have to come up with these facts and educate these guys too. So I wouldn't go too far away from it because these guys are going to be blown away, especially our man Riggleman, because he's going to get a rude awakening when he comes on here with all that stuff I dig up beyond what he's used to managing. Okay, George, go ahead. Let everybody know how to get a hold of you.
All right. You can follow me on the South Florida Tribune website under the contributors section. And at the end of my column, there's a link to Amazon, which provides you a link to get my book, which is called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, chronicling over 90 years of broadcast history in Detroit. And the great late Ernie Harwell is part of that book. And so is Scott, and so am I. But you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can find me on X or Twitter at SanGSports99. I also am on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So continue to visit these shows, be part of these shows. Great. Scott and I have known each other for over 40 years. And we've got a strong history with that Sports Exchange name way back in the days.
Yeah, we sure do, don't we?
Yeah.
All right, Eric.
You can follow me on my Twitter at Sports Team News, or check out my blog at bellyupsports.com, where I'm writing about all things baseball. And if I'm going after your team, it means I probably don't like them either.
Hey, Candy, take us rest of the way.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It has many stories that Scott tells. Scott wrote the book. George wrote the foreword. You have to get your copy of the book. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, especially if you like college sports. We have all the colleges in Florida here contributing. We have the Hurricanes. We have the FAU Owls. We have the USF Bulls, the Florida Gators, the Florida State Seminoles. So go check it out, our website. But if you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. Honestly, what are you waiting for? I mean, come on. We have some of the best programming out there. So go check us out. Monday nights is baseball. Tuesday nights football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what you're going to be getting. Friday nights, you can go over to Rob's show, and then Saturday mornings, bounce back again for our Talking Baseball with Scott and Mickey. Go not only subscribe to our channel, subscribe to everybody else that's on any of our panels of our shows, but also click on that notification button so that you know when people go live, so that you can, the funnest part of doing these shows, and Scott said on Rob's show on Friday night that the fan interaction, the comments in section really brings the show alive. So if you get that notification, you can jump on and then make comments, and make intelligent comments. I'm going to add, not just comments. We want intelligent ones. We want to thank everybody that's commented on our show tonight. If you want to advertise or sponsor any show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest on one of these shows, we're always looking for new talent. You never know. You might be the next Scott. That's a big shoes to fill. So maybe you're going to be the next George or somebody else. But you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to your big shoes there, Scott, for someone to fill.
Thanks, Candy. You really build me up. I don't know. That's okay. I just try to do the best I can every show, try to make it real, make sure we have the best things to talk about. That's my goal. The only way I look at it is my goal is make sure we do better the next time. That's how I've always believed. And like Don Mattingly, he's even keeled. I like to do the same thing as my other manager, a guy who I think dearly of. So I encourage everybody to hopefully have an opportunity to watch a Don Mattingly interview. And we have a lot of other ones that I'm working on as well. So with that said, want to thank Mickey Callaway for being on part of the night anyways. At least we got him in on the Mattingly comments and some of the important ones. And you'll see him again later in the week. So on behalf of Mickey Callaway, Rob Maraska, Candy Ebling, George Icorn, and Eric Katz. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Inches Baseball Talk. We'll be back next Monday night. Take care, everybody. Have yourself a great week. Bye now.